Oh goodness, believing is so important. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Friday live conversation. We come to you each and every Friday from Relationship Flow panel. Yes, yes, you see the claps in the audience in the background. And trying to bring you real life conversations that bring value to you, as far as what your experiences are on a day-to-day basis. So we hope you'll dive in and tune in with us as we got another great conversation in store for you. So, how's your week, Doc? Are you ready to rock it out and tell us good evening and give us a shout out?
Good evening. Yes, yes. It was a pretty good week. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. For a change.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Nothing too strenuous. Nobody died. Like, what more can I hope for?
Right, right. I'm sure you were busy in other ways though.
Oh yes, yes.
Yes.
Work
Yeah.
busy, of course.
Of course,
Of
of
course.
course. Of
Yes,
course.
yes.
Making change in the world, making change in the world.
Trying to help people.
One
You
footprint at a
know, that's right. That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
So Daryl, how we living? How we doing?
Hey, how we living? How we living? How we living? It was a definitely I think it was a good week. I think we got to see a lot of our trauma front and center.
Right?
Um, I think so that was something that was really consumed a lot of my week, just trauma and our reaction to it, and the
Mm-hmm.
reaction to trauma, showing how trauma is we're just still a lot of trauma, and we're actually celebrating trauma, which is crazy.
Yes. Unfortunately, it becomes entertainment at the cost of something, at the cost of something for someone. Like we don't know what people's journey is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but as we keep the conversations going, someone is not receiving the information so well.
Yes.
But see, I didn't see the entertainment more so as people. Okay, okay, we're not
Hello,
we
everyone.
Hello,
hello,
hello, hello.
I had a
we're
little
not
technical difficulty. I apologize.
That's okay.
okay,
We,
cool, because
we give you
I'm
our
like eight
warm
o'clock.
virtual hug. We ready for
Yeah,
you.
you yeah, three minutes late. We started at 8, but we'll let you slide this time.
Thank you.
work,
Thank you.
work, work those difficulties out. But no, I didn't see it as much as entertainment, as much as people were co-signing uh, behaviors and
Right.
saying this is how we do it. This is what you do. And on both sides, you had women talking about we're being protected. He protecting us. It's about time a black man protected us. What? Shut up. And black men thinking this is how you protect women. That's just ridiculous. That's not how you protect anyone. I
Mm-mm.
mean, it's confusing, and it shows how society is really unhealthy, to say the least.
To say the least. So I was gonna say pass the doctor. Ha ha.
Hello.
Pastor Dana Lewis, welcome to the conversation again. Sorry that I missed you last week.
Thank you so
Well,
much. Thank you guys for having me again.
absolutely. I heard you were a wonderful gem to the conversation, so I'm looking forward to experiencing you this week.
Yeah.
How was your week, other than the technical difficulties and it being 3 minutes and Daryl
Yeah.
coming at you like you've been indoctrinated to the family, apparently.
It was well. Thank you. It was a wonderful week. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey Miss Ruth. Hey Miss
Hey,
Hello.
Neil.
Roxanne.
Hi,
Um,
Roxanne.
Roxanne. Thank you all for joining us. So
Hey, Roxanne.
what in the what is
Who
this?
did Black Ruth?
Right. You coming out the box. First thing you choosing violence in this conversation? We're not choosing violence. I mean, we got some things to talk about, but we don't have to choose violence. So before I even share what the topic is, I feel like I need to put, this sensitive topic, sensitive content up to, just kind of share just kind of share as a disclaimer that sometimes the conversations that we have, because our intention is to talk about the real things that we experience on a day-to-day basis, that if you are triggered by anything that we share, feel free to reach out to any of us, but definitely realize that your healing journey is still in process. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not in no way, shape, or form on this platform are we attempting to harm anyone. Just inform, and people have different perspectives. Um,
Yes.
so, Camp, what part of the country are you in? How are you doing?
I'm still in Texas. I'm good.
Okay, okay. You have any fancy foods that you want to post and share? That's what you usually share on your Lifeline.
No fancy food. Today was Happy Meal day. Which I don't do fast food, but for Charles, yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
But
So,
Charles, go ahead.
no, what happened?
No, I said I have been getting ready for a wedding to go to.
Hmm.
Well, thank you for sharing your evening with us as we get ready to dive into this conversation about relationship with status, perception, and the fight. Like, what influences their precision? And so, I have to share that this topic came from somebody else, like so a viewer who is consistently like supporting us and everything, and we appreciate their contribution. So I'm sure that the title is interestingly full because we'll probably come at it from a lot of different ways. I saw Doc post that you shared on your social media talking about like the racial aspect of it or so forth. So
Mm-hmm.
where do we want to start? Because this is a loaded topic.
Yes, it is.
So I've been trying to do research on it as much as
Of
possible, and it's
course.
something that's very subjective, right? It's very subjective, and everybody's going to have really a different view on it. And it's one of them things that's kind of split down the middle about who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say kind of a point that I guess I took away from it was that since people have different experiences, and sometimes when you get in relationships, you can share your experience, but the other person may not really be able to understand it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, I guess, say you come home, something may affect you a lot differently than it affects that person, and they may not be able to understand or even really kind of empathize with it. They kind of can say, I guess I know how that feels, but they really may not know how it feels. And that can cause divide. So I looked into my own life, like, damn, I remember when I dated someone of another race, and that became the problem sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the issues that I have as a Black man that I would say a melanated woman may understand because they're kind of in the trenches with you. This person couldn't understand. And it wasn't
Right.
like it was mean spirited or anything. They just could not relate, could not understand, and in that could not console me or help me through this incident. So they really didn't understand, and that caused a divide because
Mm-hmm.
a house it kind of divides your house somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Someone can't be there for you in the way you need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Doc.
So, in a situation like that, do you think education would help, or is
So
it beyond just basic education about what someone of your race or culture would go through?
So this is the question, right? So do I want to educate? We're supposed to learn things from each other, but I think sometimes, and again, this is very anecdotal, and I don't do anecdotal usually, but for
We
this
know.
one, it's
We
very
definitely.
anecdotal, and for
I'm waiting
me,
for
it was like it was a constant teaching,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't feel like we had conversations. We had many lectures or many. I'm dissecting my life for you because when that cop gets behind me and I have a panic attack, I can't make you understand why,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Especially not
I
in that
can't make you understand. I can't make you understand why. And even if I talk to you, sometimes you can't relate to that experience where it came from that I seen that I was traumatized over and over again. You can't get, the feeling that I have, you cannot really understand.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that's how I felt. And it becomes a disconnect because now I can't really share with my partner. And then they feel sometimes like, wow, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand. Carol, like what?
You know what?
No, but to be honest, it goes past education. It's like
Okay.
two things. You either got it or you don't. It's innate, like the passion for it. So I feel like I can educate you all day long. My experience has been different because my culture, I'm black, of course, but my culture is different. Very different. So even though I'm married to a melanated brother, um, we don't always see eye to eye because my experience is totally different than his. Not
Mhm.
just me being from down south, but my culture is different. I don't have the brother like how I was raised. Just it's just not. I don't know. It's like a melting pot. So I think we've had to come to terms with it because I've been in Philly for so long. Yes, over 20 years. But it's like I see things differently because I haven't had those same experiences that he has had.
Mhm.
But also, like for example, Daryl talked about the cop. It's funny, Melanie, the brother, I get stopped more than he does. So I've had bad experiences, for example, with police, very bad, but he hasn't. So
But
he
does he under?
go
But
ahead.
does he under? I'm sorry to jump in, but does he understand what it means when a cop gets behind you? Does he have the understanding of when we say we're gunned down in the street? He understands what that means and what that's about, where that comes from.
Yes, he understands all of that, but I feel like
Right.
I think it's different. Kind of me being female and the way I am. My first thing is I don't like when I find a cop. Like I get, he's like, "Why you tripping? Like the insurance good,
Mhm.
license good, registration's good," and I'm like, "It's always something with a cop," and he's like,
Mhm.
So when he's been stopped, it's a little bit different. He understands all of that, but when he's been stopped, he's a veteran.
Mhm.
They have a certain privilege and status that I don't have.
So I think we're kind of missing the point. We're not talking about, so culture I can understand. I could date someone who's Italian and start to learn their culture and learn they do things different, learn they may rear their kids different. Certain things we can learn, right? But there's some things that are just through experience that they may not, and it could be vice versa. It could be some things that they do that I just don't understand. Like, I don't know why there's raisins in the potato salad. I don't know why there are, right? And I understand I understand there's a reason. I just don't understand. You understand?
I think it's more so, to be honest, I think it's more so with my situation, it's more so I'm a woman. Not that he
Mhm.
doesn't understand where I'm coming from, but then I'm a woman, he's a man, he thinks differently. So he's like, you shouldn't be tripping, even though he understands
Mhm.
the plight of the black man. But he was
Mhm.
like, oh, women get off easier. Not so much. So I think it comes the gender with that piece, with the police, for example.
Right. So, and there are differences
There
again
are.
against where we're women, right? So
Right.
there's differences. But when we talk about even as I still know black women have a struggle. Right? I still
Absolutely.
know
No,
you
absolutely, yeah.
may have not got that job because of your name, right? Because your name may have turned them off before they even interviewed you. They read their name, they didn't read your resume. I understand that. Your counterpart may not understand it because that's not their world, right?
Well, I
Mhm.
They
just
be like,
feel like
no, people don't do that. People don't do that. What is? They don't do that. Maybe they found somebody more qualified for the job. Like it's a difference in some of the way we're raised and what we do that becomes almost we have a learned innate. That's what I call it. We learn things that become innate in us that maybe others can't empathize or sympathize with. They just don't understand, and they may never understand. Like I said, and I know this is very anecdotal. Like I said, I'm going by my experience by dating people that are outside of my race. But this became a problem, right? It became a problem when even how people viewed the relationship from the outside in. Like if she may not pick up on how this other person is treating us, right? She may not pick up on these microaggressions because they're not real to her. To me, I get the microaggressions. I get you not coming to my table for 20, 30 minutes. I know what that's about. She may be like, "Is this a busy night? Is this a busy night?" Sometimes it's a busy night. So they may not understand these things. And we see, or even how we, like I said, and if we bring up the Will Smith and Kanye and Chris Rock thing as an example, most white people who
They had
looked
to
at
show
that
up.
was like, "That's egregious."
Yes.
That was terrible. It shouldn't have happened. They were thugs. It was not one. I haven't seen one white person like, yo, Chris Rock deserved it. Don't talk about people, right? They just looked at it.
No, the white
different.
people
They're
have
not
been embracing him.
embracing
They have
who?
been
Chris.
embracing Chris Rock.
They've been embracing Chris Rock like, oh my
Right.
God, why would you ever do that to him? He's such a nice person.
Remember, Chris Rock has made that transition because he's with them. To be safe, if you watch him, he's Adam Sandler. He's in that crowd. They're his friends, right? So, and I don't know where Will if he's with them, but anyway. So, but just how they looked at it was a lot differently than a lot of our community was very split. You had some like he was foul. Some was like he was right. But I'm saying I didn't see any of the non-melanated people saying Will was right. I didn't see one. I didn't see one person cheering him on. I didn't see one person celebrating him. I didn't see one person saying, yo, I get it. You know, it happened. No, they were like, that was wrong. It's egregious. It's terrible. Should have been locked up. Should be sued. That's because that's the way they look at it. They haven't been taught through history to be violent all the time. And violence is the way. Unless it's a school or something like that, then they get upset. Everybody in school.
So I'm still at the at the police pulling over a black woman situation.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And just a couple weeks ago, like I had unfortunately that experience, and I was in Montgomery County. And it seems like in this particular strip is where they tend to pull me over often. And it's like, so the guard comes up with, why are you pulling me over? Now, I've had different cars. When they pulled me over, they profiled, you know, the type of car I had before. They can't profile what I got now, but the reason that they pulled me over, like, I'm like, okay, what did I do? I'm so extremely guarded and cautious when I'm driving in that area that I'm already knowing or trying to be attentive to, you know, like what would be safe or what would be like keeping me under the radar, and yet I still get pulled over. And the reason that they allegedly pulled me over was because they couldn't see the light bulb above my license plate. Really?
Really?
Like, really?
Right. Yes, your license plate should be lit. So that's one of those where they can pull you over anytime. Or in New Jersey,
that's who it was, Lower Merion Police.
Oh wow. Or like I know New Jersey, you're not allowed to have anything around your license plate. So when they have like, you know, you bought this from whatever car dealership that most cars have, they're illegal. So they can really pull you over anytime for that. So they can use that as a reason to profile you, but it makes it a legal stop because your license plate has that ring around it. Not that it's obstructing anything, just that it's not allowed to have anything around it. So they use those type of things, or the tassels in New Jersey. You can't have anything hanging from the mirror. So you have your little tassel or little something up there. They can stop you for that as well. These are things that, you know, again, so these are one of those things where they may not, your counterpart might not understand why you're so nervous and so you're shaking because you got stopped because of a light bulb out over your, it's just a light bulb. You just play the ticket. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. But they don't understand that this could be a life-ending stop for me. Right?
Well, I actually, like when you say life-ending, like the immediate guard, okay, what did I do? I'm driving under 25 miles an hour. And then when he's asking for my information, before I go to reach, I said, do I have permission to reach into my glove compartment? Some cultures or most cultures don't have to ask permission. But because I have all of these pre-thoughts going through my mind, you're a man, I'm a woman, it's dark outside. You haven't told me why you pulled me over yet. And now you want me to, I'm going to reach in my glove compartment. I don't know, you know, anything. So like the whole process, if I was dealing with someone of a different race, they don't know all those different steps that we have encountered to even think that way. And like, you know, along the same times, I had a friend saying, I know, Camp, you take this drive all the time, but someone was suggesting to me to drive down south. Immediately, I was like, no, I'm gonna figure out how to pay for the airline ticket because, not driving south by myself.
Well, when you say drive down south, I've experienced more racism and overt race just across the board prejudice in PA than I'm anywhere in down south, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So I know people have those preconceived notions or assumptions,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I've been stopped so many times. The more egregious and crazy stops I've had with police have been with melanated police,
Mm-hmm.
where I've been followed in dark roads by melanated police because of the type of car I got and they see my plates. So I think it just depends on where you at, and I feel more comfortable, to be honest, driving down south than I do in the city of Philadelphia
Mm-hmm.
because
And I remember. Go ahead. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
absolutely, Roxanne. Right, Virginia. Listen,
And that's the
like
Virginia.
reason why I was
Virginia,
going to think like I couldn't fathom going beyond Northern Virginia to my destination because I'm like, after you hit where it turns into 75 miles an hour, like I would be free food on the expressway.
Right,
and
right.
when you talk about down south, I don't after North Virginia, I don't take 95. I take the back highways and roads because you don't deal with the same
Intensity.
yeah, you do- it's yeah.
So real
This
fast, let's kind of
conversation
bring it
also
back.
reminds
Okay.
me. Let me just say this last thing, and then bring it
No
back.
problem. No problem. No problem.
This,
No
this
problem.
reminds me of one of the guests who have been on this show before, Del Rico, who from Pittsburgh, went to school at Rutgers in New Brunswick, where he had locks. He doesn't have them anymore, but had locks. And his when he would come to South Jersey, he made sure that he had his Rutgers hat and that he put it on when he was coming across the bridge or coming into South Jersey so that he didn't become profiled. And like that was a process that, I didn't consider that, like riding in the car, with him side by side. But once he told me, I understood 100% what that experience could be like. But it was like he already had a script in regards to what it was that he would do as he got closer to where the police were more aggressive in South Jersey. Just sharing,
So,
Daryl. I mean, just another
no, that's
perspective.
fine. That's good. Now we're going to talk about, but now take that to, we have these relationships, right, that are mixed, and these people are in a position or power position to do something. Now, if can they really fight for you if their counterpart is something different? Like, so if you have black and white, right? I don't know if they can go home and have those conversations about things and bounce things off of their partner to get hey, what do you think about this, babe? This guy got killed and he was black and the cops white, and his view may be so different that, either you're going to listen to it or you're going to give your own view. But I think that can cause strife at home as well. I don't know how you could really go in and really go hard for your melanated people if if your husband, spouse, wife, or whatever the case may be isn't. I think it would be tough.
So you think you would have to play it down or not talk about it at all?
Is he talking to somebody else?
Oh, I just think it depends on the situation. To be honest, I've dated several people outside my race before I got married, and I found the opposite. Maybe I'm a unicorn, but I felt like they went harder than I would go hard because it was a respect issue. It wasn't so much about black and white or black Mexican or whatever. It was more about how you're treated as a person and a respect factor. That's not what we do. That's not what's going to happen. So I just think it just has a lot of variables. You just never know.
I'm sorry, Cam. Can you say it again? I missed the beginning of it. I apologize.
Because you wasn't paying attention.
Right.
I had an interruption. I apologize. I'm a busy person.
I'm agreeing that it would be difficult, but in my personal situation, it wasn't. It was more so about not race, but a respect factor, and that's things that don't get done. They went hard. So if anybody came towards me, any issues, anything, they was like, "Excuse me, that's not going down," because that's not how we do things, and you're not going to disrespect her, regardless of who she is. Like you see what I'm saying? So I think it's difficult. I'm agreeing with Miss Roxanne. I think it's difficult in most mixed couples, but in my particular situation, it wasn't. I said it was the opposite.
I don't, again, I'm not really sure if we're kind of talking about the same thing, because when we see, like I said, just seeing things, picking up microaggressions or picking up how, what people are doing, I mean, the Colin Kaepernick thing was great to show how his parents, who were white, who loved him, just didn't understand what he was going through or what people were doing when he would go somewhere and they were like, is he with you? Are you sure? He's not bothering you. Is he stealing? And they're like, no, it's so crazy. But when you have those interactions, they become issues. So if I'm out with someone who's doesn't understand that when this person is following me around the store, it's a problem.
That is a problem
to me. And the other person really doesn't understand why, because they haven't experienced it sometimes. It's a difficult conversation to make them or even get them to understand how you feel about certain things like that. Right. So that's not. So it's not about. I mean, it's more when we talk about the differences. It's more about things that are innately us, that you would understand, or that your counterpart would understand, or someone that has a shared experiences would understand. But someone else may not understand. Like I said, and it goes both ways. There's things that when I was with people, I didn't understand why they did it. I didn't understand why it looked this way. Right. I didn't understand it, and no matter how much they may have told me, I kind of could get it, but it didn't have the same sting that it may have had to them. It just didn't.
So I'm interested in how do we refer to you as Pastor Dana Lewis? We say the whole thing.
Yes.
We got
Pastor Lewis, Pastor Dana.
Lewis, Pastor Dana.
Yes.
I mean, we gotta embrace you like family. Like I want to know
Thank you.
Cousin,
right? You've been observing us go, back and forth like popcorn, and I want to hear your voice in this part of the conversation. I mean, especially before I'm about to change a little bit, but go ahead.
I think in regards to people in relationships and the differences in our culture, I think that it is difficult for people who don't have the same experiences as us to comprehend what we're going through, to even really have sympathy for that issue. Now, in regards to, is it Miss Camp or Mrs. Camp?
It's just Camp.
Okay, Camp. When she was saying things like,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to answer for you, Camp, but
when she found that the people she were dating, she felt as though they probably understood what she was going through more because it was an issue of respect. And so an issue of respect about what's going on and having empathy and compassion in regards to the culture issue that is taking place, I think is kind of two different things. Because if you're with a man who highly regards respect on all levels, then it has nothing to do with culture. It has to do with the issue of respect. And so I think there definitely is a difference. And it's difficult for people who are not melanated to really have an understanding of what we go through on a day-to-day basis. I mean, this is something that we live with, we think about, we dream about, we plan. What route am I going to go today? I had to think about it when I first bought my son a car or let my son drive my car. Son, when you're in this car, this is what you do. If the cops stop, you're given this whole speech. And I just have to be honest. I even experienced it with my son when one day he called me on the phone and we were talking and he was driving. And although the phone was playing through the vehicle, he immediately said, "Mom, the cops are about to stop me." I just went into a severe panic. My heart was racing. I was having a panic attack. I felt anxiety. I had to now say to my son, okay, where is the license? Where's your license? Where's the insurance card? Where's the registration? I go down this whole list. When the cops stop you, keep your hand on the steering wheel, be respectful. And so when the cop did stop him, and he dragged my son out of the car, and I could literally hear him like throwing my son up against the car. And so all my son was saying was, "Sir, could you please tell tell me, why are you dragging me out the car? And my son had just left home, and he said to him, I watched you steal this vehicle. I was watching you for
Wow.
25 minutes, and I followed you from the development that you were in, and I watched you break into this car and steal it. And when my son insisted that the car belonged to me, he wouldn't even like
Think
look
about
at the registration to see who the vehicle belonged to. So when I responded, the officer could hear me out loud, and I'm saying, officer, that's my car. My son didn't steal it. He just left the house. He wasn't even in the development you're talking about. And so he became angry, and he threw my son up against the car. And so when I arrived at the scene, I told my son to leave. And so the officer then turned his anger on me. Because I demanded that my son leave because he wasn't arrested. He wasn't being held for being arrested. So I demanded that my son leave the scene. Now, when my business partner, who is not of our culture, I called him, he was an attorney. He arrived at the scene with his status. They were threatening to lock me up, threw me up against the car, handcuffed me. And the person with a different culture and a different status, all he did was announce his name and said that Pastor Lewis is my good friend. They immediately apologized, said that they had did wrong. They just didn't know what they were thinking that day. They was having such a bad day. They admitted that they never saw my son steal anything. My son wasn't even, they even admitted that he wasn't even in the development. And so how do you relate this to someone else in your relationship or in your circle that doesn't understand? Because my partner was like, are you kidding me? What happened? He kept asking the officers, why did you do this again? And so it's difficult for people to relate our cultural issues. When you see African, American woman, with a different culture, and she's being treated differently by other people in our culture because she's with someone out of our culture, that's also an issue, and other people may not see that. So I think it's a lot more, it goes beyond education. I think it goes beyond empathy. It goes beyond compassion. It goes beyond understanding the experiences that we all have. And I think that takes some time, and sometimes it just cannot be accomplished.
Right.
can't sometimes.
Right. And similarly, I was dating one girl, and it was Christmas, and I remember she put a Christmas ornament on the tree, and it was of a this Christmas ornament called the
I'm not ready.
It ended the relationship. Okay.
What kind of ornament was it?
What was it?
So what it was, the girl, she had adopted a black daughter. The black daughter played field hockey, okay? And playing, hold on.
That must be our little princess queen.
Yes.
So the field hockey ornament was supposed to represent the people on the team. Everybody got one. And I was wondering why hers was white. I was confused. I was like, well, why is it white? She's like, oh, it was a mistake. They were supposed to send a new one. But I don't want her not to have one. So I gave it to her. And she said, oh, it looks just like me. So she said, I kept it because she said, it looked just like her. I said, wait, what? What was that? Wait a minute. It looked like who? So first, now we have an image thing, because image matters, right? And representation matters. So you're telling me she thinks she's that. Problem. That's a problem for me. She couldn't understand why it was a problem because it only was a Christmas ornament. It wasn't a big deal. Right? And again, it wasn't in malice, but she felt this way, right? She felt this way, and that's because where she came from, how she was raised. She didn't understand that this was a problem for this little girl to think of herself looking like this.
Mm-hmm.
This is
But
the
you have
problem.
to keep in mind too how we were brought up. We were brought
Brainwashed.
up. We were brainwashed. Our children were brainwashed. Many of us were brainwashed as children. I never could understand growing up why I couldn't have a doll that looked like me. I never could
Right,
understand
right.
why when we looked at television, I didn't see me. In school, our teachers, many of them, well, in the schools that I went to, none of them
We're black.
looked like me. And so
Right.
unfortunately, we now have these children growing up even today that have these identity crises, and they
Right.
suffer severely from low self-esteem because we're not accepted. We're just starting to see an abundance of us, and sometimes
Right.
even when we
Right.
see us, they don't act like us, they don't talk like us, because
Mhm.
now in the environment that they're in, they have this privilege and this prestige that still makes them think of themselves as not being us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, they start to imitate, or your proximity, what you're around, you emulate, right?
Mm-hmm.
That becomes your new norm. So, you know that I remember when I went from an urban school to a rural school, and I was stuck there because I couldn't get back for about a year. Once you get to the rural area, ain't no buses, no buses. Like one bus.
You need a car.
You need a car.
You need a car.
You need it. This is where they have to
A
have one.
reliable car.
Yeah.
Right. So once the next year, one of my friends got a car, so he'd pick us up, and we didn't really realize it, but we dressed different, and our lexicon had changed somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
So we had added some words to our lexicon that weren't familiar to our friends, and now we became white boys. Look at these white boys, because we talked different, because this is who we're around now, right? And it was so crazy to think, and I'm like, wow, we are we dressed differently. I remember having a cowboy tie with the little cowboys out of this. Hey, like, yo, what is that, fool? Like, this is the stop. This is hot, boy. What you mean? These Z Capricis is the bomb. What you talking about? Like, they was like, yo, you are bugging. You are not who you used to be. Because now where we're at, we've changed. We became different because we
assimilated.
People around. When people were around, these are our friends now. We're new friends, and you're doing what's the new fashion, new styles. You follow the trends, and it was culture shock. Culture shock going there and then culture shock going back. Because now nobody wants you. Not accepted
Right.
here and back there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now you're not accepted back there either because you're a white boy, you corny. You corny now. Look at them jeans. What's a cowboy tie? You know what I mean? So
And don't have a crease.
Right?
Right.
Don't have a crease.
Oh my God.
Had to have creases. What's wrong with your pants? Why your pants pointing at us?
That's also part of the discussion about the change because of where you are. And we touched on this, I think, last week, where we talked about this idea of, as you get to higher points, then you don't see much of us. So our choices are limited as far as partners. And then so you're dating outside of your race because it seems like you don't have a choice. Because you are at a certain level and we aren't in those rooms.
It's not. You mean you have lack of different choices, you have lack of variety. You have a lack of variety in some of these places. So it's not anything. Because even for me, it wasn't when I did it. It always happened in a way. Like one time, I just worked at this job, and then I ended up working with this girl, and we worked side by side. It was supposed to be like a male-female classroom, and we worked together for a year. This girl was never on my radar. Never thought anything of it. As we were talking every day, because you at work all day, we're talking, we're learning about each other, and I'm learning about her. I'm like, wow, she's pretty cool, and I like that she never tried to be anything other. She never tried to use urban vernacular or anything. Like, she was just her. She was just her, and it just happened organically. Like, she's a cool person. I stopped seeing her for anything other than this cool person. Her personality was dope. And
sometimes relationships do develop out of proximity.
Absolutely.
Right. But what happened was the same thing. Once it got, those relationships I think are cool in a bubble when it's just me and her. Once it started getting to, I want you to meet my family, I don't think that's a good idea. She's like, no, it is. I really don't think we should do that. So, and she came from money. So I remember we went to her house to go swimming. I'm like, you sure? Nobody's going to be there. They're away. Okay, we went swimming. They come home, right? And I remember meeting her mother, and again, I'm nervous. Like the police came, I'm just nervous. I'm like, they're going to drain this pool. They're going to drain the pool. And they're going to burn this. And when I, being respectful, and I put on my, my greatest white voice that I had, hello there, how are you doing? Nice to meet you.
We've met
and
that.
I shook her. Exactly. I shook her, because you got a code switch. I shook her hand, and she wiped her hand on her dress after she shook my hand. So I was like, oh. Now, there's another black guy there. He was from Princeton. He was darker than me, but he was raised in Princeton. So that's all he knew. So he thought he was other than black. He didn't think he was melanated at all. So he gave his normal voice, hey, how you doing? And when she did it to him, he kind of lost it, because he was like, I'm not like him. Me. He was darker than me, but he was offended as well. And when I talked to her about it, I said, this is why I didn't want to meet. And she refused to see or understand. No, she didn't. Maybe she was just hot and her hand was sweaty and she wiped it off. No, boo-boo. That's not what happened, boo-boo. Okay? So those things, to me, started becoming a problem, because I remember Dad was going to pay me $5,000 not to date her no more. Like, this is crazy. This is really, really crazy.
That's something you see in the movies.
Right.
It was.
Because it's in the movie, you don't think that it's real, but they got the idea from somewhere.
From somewhere, yeah.
Just like the movie Get Out. It came from somewhere.
Right. Right. And they wanted me to get out. They hired a private detective. People followed me around. It was really crazy. Really crazy. But again, the difference is that she didn't understand, or even understand, like, I don't know why my parents are doing this. Like, once we find out, like, she's like, somebody's following you and they're giving them reports on you and what you do. She's like, I don't know why they're doing this. I know why I'm doing this. Because I'm black. So some of those things become very difficult to overcome, because the connection doesn't really connect, right? You can't really connect when those big pieces don't connect. And these pieces are very important to me. These are me. These pieces are who I am, right? Because I got to deal with these things. And if I can't come and share with you and you understand and try to help me through this, then you don't really help me at times.
Like you don't get it. Yeah.
So the question I have, it's a dissertation comment going on. The question I have is, does this only apply when the culture is one melanated and one non-melanated? What happens when you're both melanated but come from different parts of the world, or different zip codes or values or something like that? And like, I actually have a couple now where the woman is from, I'm gonna just say, United States, and he is from Nigeria. I'm sorry, I want to say the right country.
Listen, I was about to say, there you go, because that's the biggest. They're very different. So their cultures, and even though we're both melanated, the way we're looked at is very different. And a lot of times we're looked down upon. You know, we'll say if you're from one of the African countries, sometimes they look at us as, less than. Due to our history, due to things, we're weak, we're this, we're that, we don't have good work ethic. They look down upon us. So a lot of times that could be a big issue. Because I remember talking to a girl who said, "Ooh, hey, yeah."
Yeah, I was like, okay, I can't put that in there.
Yeah, Jaja is actually saying what you're saying.
Exactly.
Saying what you're saying.
It blocked everybody.
Being African and being talked about because of assimilation, and saying that you act like you're Black American.
Right.
Right.
Right. They consider us
Right.
Black Americans. They don't consider us no.
No, yeah, they and it's tough because, like I said, they really have not a they view us in a negative light.
Correct.
And it's that becomes very difficult as well because now it's challenging almost. I'm gonna say it's challenging your blackness at that point because you're not really black. You know, they're like, you're not really melanated. You're not really. You know, you're a white man melanated.
And it's different dynamics. I think that are experienced when you are, you know, you represent an African culture versus someone who is African American, Black American, or whatever. And I'm thinking about, like, more specifically, I mean, it's two situations that came up in this couple situation, but like when George the 2020 riots were going on, she was trying to help her husband understand what her experience was, and he didn't understand because he comes from privilege in a sense. Like, he's not a family that is lacking in any way, you know, in his home country. So she was like, okay, I'm going to go talk to, I mean, probably a bad choice, but she went to her ex to talk about some of the dynamics of what
That's a terrible choice.
That's the reason why they dialed marymay.com. But but the thing is that the dynamic of, she felt like she needed a space of someone who can understand, not that she had to explain why she was feeling the way that she felt. She didn't have like a Daryl as a bestie to be able to just call real quick. She only had the ex, allegedly.
She ain't just calling me. That information don't come for free. I'm just saying. Sorry, Pastor.
I'm just saying.
Don't mind me. Don't mind me.
Yeah, exactly. That was his perception. That was his perception. Like, you know, you couldn't have picked any other Black male in the United States to talk about your experience. But that, I don't want to digress like from that, but it was really the disconnect of, she was trying to align with somebody who
understood her,
who understood the reasons why her feelings were so elevated, why the country's feelings were so elevated, like what that experience was, because he didn't know.
So that's now I don't understand that point, because usually even people from most African countries understand strife and understand issues and police brutality and those type of things, and maybe not at the level of it here, but they a lot of these countries do experience these things or had these things in their lineage, you know, that they overcame or things of that nature.
And maybe you didn't hear when I was saying he comes from a family of privilege.
No. And again, so I know a lot of Africans that are, actually, I know one king, right? And he understands these things. Like when they start talking about their history and their culture, he was talking to us one day and was telling about how they went through such and such, and then how we can't go through such and such, or we got to watch the police here because they will take our money and they'll rob us, and you know, you got to watch this. So they have these issues and they know about it. So for him to be so unaware of this, that to me is weird, because even at my job, there's all the Africans kind of hang together, and I love talking to them because they'll talk about these issues. You know, and they'll talk about how it relates to their country, and you know where, and they know where to. It's like anywhere, you know where to go and where not to go. You know, if you go here, you might get knocked in the head. Don't go here with this on. So that was kind of weird to me that he didn't understand that, because they have most people, especially if you're from like a Nigeria, you have a culture that you can follow, that you know what you had to go through to get whatever freedoms or whatever you have. That's interesting.
Right. So it's like, but he still had like the level of privilege that we're talking about in the dynamic between non-melanated and melanated couples being like a mixed couple. So it's like that dynamic of privilege can be interpreted in different ways, and it impacts the ability of you functioning in a relationship with understanding and being able to support your partner to know why, if we go back to the police scenario that we gave, or you know, just other scenarios where we're on guard, like automatically.
I think one of the other things too, in regards to relationships, we can also have that misunderstanding and that misconnect when we're even from different zip codes.
Yes.
And when we also have different educational levels,
Yes.
and when we also
Amen.
have different financial experiences. And so when you then begin to be in a relationship and you're dealing with someone that may have had a life of privilege, even though we're African American, some of us have experienced a life of privilege, a life of financial freedom, and so when you get with people where you are not on the same level, you will find very often that not only is there a disconnect or or a misunderstanding, but also there can be a lot of jealousy and envy that's not recognizable on the forefront, that can be hindering and damaging the relationship because the understanding just isn't there. The way your partner may spend their money, the way another partner may be saving their money. Another person or one of the partners may excel in education and therefore has a different financial experience than their partner. Those things also simulate a disconnect, a misunderstanding, and many, many relationships in just on those issues alone.
So, but those could be in any relationship. They could be same melanated, same color. So that would be any relationship could have that. That would affect any relationship, right? But we're really trying to tease out when you have that difference of either what we said culture or difference of melanation, difference of countries that you may live in. Those things can really play a part in a relationship due to something not really affecting you the same way it may affect someone else.
I don't know. I don't know what other people's experience are, but I can even tell you, in pastoring over 30 years, unfortunately, sometimes when people come from different zip codes, they can still be of the same culture and no longer realize that they're a part of that culture.
Absolutely.
And so as a result, they truly live that life as though they are no longer that culture. And so they can't even comprehend anymore what we go through as a culture because they have disassociated themselves from the culture. And we can look clearly at Will Smith, who exhibited that, same mentality, I believe, in a sense of what we saw. He comes from the same culture as Chris Rock. He's been through many of the same things, but yet he somehow has assimilated of another culture. Where's that coming from?
Doc rocking it out on two.
Doc, sorry now. But see, so this is the thing. So what I think now what we're talking about is when people get to the denial stage of who they were, right? So when these people may change zip codes, like a Will Smith, who's now trying to be something or forget something that he was. And I'm not sure with Will Smith because I did some interviews, looked at some interviews and things that nature said where he thought he was a coward and all this type of stuff. So at 57, you shouldn't be trying to be tough at 57. It's way too late to try to be tough.
53.
Right.
53, whatever it is, still way too late to be trying to be tough.
But he's just coming into his own though right now with his book and everything.
Is he coming into his own? No, I don't think he's coming to his own. He is who he is. He's been dragged for the last 4 years over the internet through everything. To me, they rival the Kardashians, where we're going to put everything out there and we're going to make money off of it, right? Even this may be a money grab. I don't know what this is, but it's like I said, it's out of character for him to do this. It's out of character.
But we put people on pedestals too.
Well, That's true. But see, we do. But think about it. Let's think about it. If and this is where you may forget who you are, because as a black man, I know I'm not slapping nobody on camera, right? I'm going to do that somewhere in the back where you can hear about it, but you don't know exactly what happened. Like, you just don't do that. Like, I thought we move in silence and violence. When is it okay to get up in front of everybody and slap somebody on national TV where everybody sees it? You got cameras, so I'm confused at that action. Because even walking up there, at a certain point, you got to be like, I shouldn't do this. Like, what are you doing? That to me is not, that's just, I don't know what that was. I really don't know what that was.
After laughing at the joke.
And Jada was laughing too. I saw the different angle today where she laughed at things. So I don't know what's going on there. Was it a joke that they can't take back now? Was it fake? Was it staged that they can't take it back? I don't know. I just know that it doesn't make sense to me. Did he break? Then he's yelling, "Don't talk my wife." All right. And then Chris Rock is like 170 pounds. You don't get credit for that. Like, what are we doing here? You know, I'm confused.
It's triggering in so many different ways that has not been discussed, but I don't know if we want to shift to that in this particular conversation, because it's so many layers to the impact of what we experience.
Right.
Are black men that utilize their influence, is the word I prefer to use, over power, while being abused, and they don't have the platform to like really share their emotional intelligence, as Doc had us talk about a couple weeks ago. And so, like, the fact that this almost gives permission for that dysregulation. But
no, it does give permission. And I said, like I said earlier, not only does it give permission, everyone co-signing this behavior as appropriate. Men and women. Women talk about, yeah, black men stand up for us. If you ain't slapping people, then I don't want you. Hey, listen, I'm not going to jail, so someone else can be slapping your yams anyway. So let's stop the game, okay? We're not doing that, right? and again, if protection isn't needed at that point to a physical level when the man is just saying words. Now, Will would have yelled up there, like, hey, don't talk about my wife. All right, cool. You want to yell? All right, cool. But making it physical definitely makes it to the point where now if you step on my Air Force Ones, I'm a Will Smith you. Right?
Well, one of the other things I think in regards to this as well that comes to the surface and it's been talked about a lot lately, you know, why did he not have that same energy for the other men who were doing more than just putting Jada's name in their mouth?
Because this started in 2016, but like, are we really going to shift our conversation to that versus the power and influence that melanated couples have? Or can we have that conversation?
Right. Because I don't think they correlate. I don't think what other people did, you know, because impulse control is at the moment. Because I don't know anybody who said anything in his face. People said things. I don't know if he crossed paths with them, right? So we can't speak to that because that's just, we don't know the whole story. This we see it happen in real time, in the moment. So it's a little different. But I do believe it was calculated if it was real. I do believe he saw a dude that is 160 pounds, which is barely, anyway, just a small guy that really, you don't really feel like anything's going to happen to you. And if it is, he felt like he could dominate that situation, right? So it just, to me, it just doesn't make sense. But like I said, to point at the end of the day, I don't really care why it happens. The problem I have is what it's sending the message to people, where when we tell people to use their words, right? If my daughter just went and punched somebody because they said something, she would be in trouble. I wouldn't be celebrating like, yeah, girl, you did it. You should have, yeah, she said, what'd she say? You punched her in the face? Yeah. No, we're not doing that. We're giving more negative images of black men and men that are respected. This is a real problem.
I want to make a comment in regards to the question about the mixed racial relationships changes the dynamic of
that sounds so great, Dr. Dina. Thank you, Daryl, though, for your soliloquy. I hope we can recall it if we have that conversation on a whole show.
Yes.
Anytime.
I've had couples and relationships that are mixed couples that when it comes to them wanting to stand up for Black Lives Matter and their partner who is not of our culture comes from a stance of all lives matter, many of them have found themselves dumbing themselves down to getting to the point where they no longer even say Black Lives Matter because they just want to avoid controversy and issues in their household. And so now, while they're in the presence of the partner, they will say all lives matter because they're now afraid of the confrontation, don't want the confrontation, just don't want to be bothered with what it might bring about. But then when they're with people of their own culture, they revert back to the Black Lives Matter stance.
Is that like a like code switching a little bit?
Correct.
So
Okay.
Interesting.
is
Yeah.
it code switching, or is it you not having your true voice in your relationship?
Are you being
Right.
dismissive?
Right.
Mhm.
Because
too.
I mean,
you're
and
not even.
I've had a couple of couples who've had the opposite experience where they're fighting all the time because of this, because the partner does not understand. And they're
Right.
trying to
Right.
constantly explain to them why they feel the way that they do and why they're triggered by these things and why it matters.
Mm-hmm.
And their partner having a really difficult time understanding. And it causes a lot of conflict in the relationship. That until it was brought to the forefront, they thought wasn't a problem until these things started happening.
Right,
So
because you don't normally talk about these things in the beginning. Like, hey, I
exactly.
like you, I like you. Hey,
Exactly.
you think Black Lives Matter? That doesn't come up in the beginning usually. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like I said, until
But
it
are
doesn't come
these
up until it
discussions
comes
you
up.
should have if you're going to be in an
Yes.
interracial relationship? Or should you have
But
these
but
discussions
Yes.
but
in the
some but this
beginning?
is not.
In the beginning,
I think you should, but it's not something that you really are thinking about in the beginning. If you're not, especially if it's your first time or second time, you're not sometimes thinking about. I know I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about the things like, what does a healthy relationship look like? Like, what do you like? How can we make this better? What's your love language? That's what I'm thinking about. I'm not, and you know what? You kind of think it's a false sense of security because you feel like if they're talking to you, that they're on board with you and everything that
Yes.
comes with you,
Yes.
right?
Not
Because
necessarily.
I feel like this is. I feel like that this is why we're together, you know, and it's not till later you may find out that maybe that's not truly the case, or maybe they didn't really know what that all entitled. Maybe they liked the exoticness of you, but they didn't like everything that comes with you, or they didn't know everything that comes with you. So that comes out later. So sometimes it's just you just don't know. Like we don't know the things we don't know until it comes up. You're watching TV one day, you see something like, "Oh my God, that's terrible." I'm like, "Well, why is it terrible? He was a criminal. He should have got locked up." Wait, what you say? What you say?
yes, yes.
And that's when the discussion starts. And you find
Mm-hmm.
out you made a bad. You found out you made a bad decision.
Mm-hmm. And I've had one unique couple where it was different because the non-melanated partner wanted to be all in. They wanted to take their child to rallies and when stuff was happening, they wanted to be in there. And this person was like, "Nah, I'm gonna fall back."
So did you? I had one girl like that. Was like, yo, I'm like, yo, she had all the answers when I asked her anything. Yeah, I feel like Black women are queens and they go through so much and I respect them. And I'm like, God, she got all the answers. But then I found that came from a place of she didn't like her own race because of how they treated her, and Black people accepted her. So now she was super Black.
All in.
She was super melanated. She was going in and above. She was trying to do more than I was doing. But I felt like it was coming from a place of I want to do anything to make my parents unhappy.
Gotcha.
Really?
Right, because it wasn't. I don't think it's natural for you to go all in for another race. because you have your own race, you have your own cultures, you have your own things. So if you're going all in for somebody else and not making space for who you are, that's a problem, right? That's a problem to me because I have to be me because that's who I am. I can make space for you and the things you do. Okay, I'm just not going to eat the raisins. I'll eat around them and I have my seasoning on the side, right? you make space for that, but you still have to be you. You're going to fly your own flag. I want you to take part in things, but if you're ODing, if you're Rachel Dolazaring things, there's some issues there that are bigger than that are leading you to do this. So I don't know if it's even coming from a real place at that point.
Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes that's driven by, like you said, them not wanting to accept themselves because their people didn't accept them. And sometimes it comes from a place of not even understanding their own culture, you know,
right.
So I feel
and
like
not being able to accept all of it.
Right.
And it feels like in those exchanges, if you're diving into a culture that's opposite of yours because they accepted you, it's a different token economy like happening. Like you only you only are assimilating because of the acceptance and validation that you were seeking.
Correct.
But that how long is that going to validate you? How long is that going to sustain like what it is that you find that you need? And when are you going to just immediately, like, you're not attached to it, you're only attached to it in this season.
Right. And then it gets tough because what I saw was when I started really looking at this person's life, I'm like, yo, you don't have any melanated friends, right? Outside of the melanated men you date, you have none, zero. That's tough to do. Like, that's interesting. So I started seeing that this was, and they may believe what they believe, but where it came from, I didn't really understand, and I couldn't decipher it, but I knew it wasn't a genuine thing. I didn't feel it was genuine. Personally, I didn't feel it. Might have been. It didn't feel genuine. Like, it felt very contrived, and I didn't know how long it could last. You know,
because like, what's the breaking point? Go ahead, Daryl.
Right, and it really comes down to the point where you have that line in the sand, like the Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. Well, where are you going to stand now? Right? If they say, hey, you know, all these people are going to struggle with this melanated, are you going to go over there with the melanated people, or are you going to get back to your privilege? Like, that's my question. If it came down to something, if it came down to something where we had to choose a path due to, they're like, well, look, we're like over in where is it? Where Russia,
the blue and gold country.
Yeah, those people, right? When it comes down to it, if you had a Ukrainian woman and they're like, now she can leave, but you can't. Are you staying? Or are you going?
Right.
Right? Are you going to use
are you expecting your partner to stay because you have to stay?
Right.
Because they're your
that's
partner.
what I mean. So now, right. Now, I can't leave because I'm melanated. They ain't letting me leave. So we got to stay and duck these bombs. Or you're going to be like, well, I'm going to see you over and I'm going to Poland. I'll get up with you. I'll write you. We get text. Like, what are you going to do when that line is drawn in the sand, when you have the ability to do something different and I don't? Are you going to say, you know what, I'm going to stay with you? We'll see how much you love me now.
The racial divide, like, just exists in so many different layers that really every single day you can look at the news or a TV show or something like that and be impacted by where it is that you sit, because some things are just so blatant and then some things are kind of passive, but they exist, and depending on where you are in your own healing journey, like, it could be detrimental.
And if you know, taking it back to the topic, if the person you're with can't understand, they can't really comfort you either.
Right.
We just can't be together.
They can't.
So is the relationship all the way over, Camp?
I think for me it would be, like, to be honest, yeah. Like, I was engaged and broke off a relationship and broke off the engagement. Yes. We cannot be together. Yes.
And it's like if someone comes to your home, like say you go to someone's home and their mom wants to touch your hair, and you don't understand why. I don't want her touching my hair.
Oh,
That
your
could be a
neck gonna
problem
get
after a
elbowed.
while.
I'm sorry.
You understand? Why'd you elbow my mom? Because she touched my hair.
You have to
That's my
ask
mom.
first.
Why did you do
Elbow it
that?
out.
Hey, listen, you lucky she only got an elbow because I had an uppercut and a wheel kick coming with it. But they may not understand that
Why?
this is
Yeah.
It's
disrespectful.
offensive, right?
That yes, I am not here for show. This is not. I'm not a clown for her amusement. Hey, she can touch her own hair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, your hair
You know,
is
and they
so
may not understand that.
dynamically exciting. Like you could put it in so many different ways, and I only can wash it and put mousse on it, and that's it.
That sounds racist. That's what I would say.
I mean,
It
but
sounds racist.
what?
I'm not responding to that.
Is it helpful if the person is trying to understand? Does that offer any
You get tired of that, Doc.
uh,
I don't think you get tired of it.
Like, is it
I
really
don't necessarily
possible?
think you. No, wait. First of all,
I
stop.
don't
There's a
know.
lot of we have a lot of interracial couples out here, so it's definitely possible. They're
It is
finding a way to
possible.
work through it, right? But I think that it becomes, like I said, we already have enough things against us in relationships, right? You're adding another one that
Add
may
another
be
layer,
very difficult to mitigate. Like you said, because you can't really understand some things. Now you can't. When I come home shaking up because this cop got behind me at the red light, he didn't even stop me. He pulled off, but now my PSD checked in. I'm home. I'm crying. You're like, why are you crying? He didn't even stop you. I don't feel supported in that moment.
mhm,
So I'm gonna have to call my ex, who was a sister, to talk to her about how I felt.
Because they understand.
mhm,
I just been in
They
situations where a lot of my
they underneath. I
And
mean, understand.
they're available so conveniently.
Hopefully.
I've just been in
Sorry,
a lot of
Pastor.
family
Sorry, Pastor.
situations where a lot of my family they're in mixed or interracial marriages, relationships, and it gets awkward when I show up and we're having an issue of like a black people issue, whatever. And their spouse comes in to say something. It gets weird, very weird and awkward because they don't get it. But then it puts my cousins in a tough space because they're agreeing with me, but you live with your husband or significant other, of course. So it's like you have to side with him, but you're siding with me. Like pick a side. It's tough
Mhm.
in different circles. Just visiting family that are in mixed race relationships.
And I'll tell you another thing that's real tough in the educational realm.
Yeah.
As an executive school administrator, I see this all the time when we're dealing with mixed race um, couples and their children. That adds a whole
Different
nother
layer.
cultural
Right.
dynamic to the relationship, and the person that's non-melanated doesn't even have a clue as to what's going on with this biracial child, and so it causes a lot of conflict because the dad gets what the child is going through, maybe in an urban environment, because he's experienced many of those same levels of discrimination, and the non-melanated partner
Right.
just cannot comprehend it. I mean, even if they try to comprehend it, they don't provide that comfort to their
Right.
partner because it's so far fetched out of their, their mental realm.
mhm.
Not even on their playing board. It's not even on their playing board. They
Daryl
don't
would have used the
understand
word
something.
lexicon.
Yes.
That's a good point.
But that's interesting because sometimes you have those situations where that mixed child, they can't do her hair.
Now, I was just gonna say,
Yep.
They can't do her hair. And that's really important, especially for a young woman. Her hair is her main. That's her thing. That's everything. What women tell me, and I'm just, you can correct me if I'm wrong, right?
your research and
I don't know,
development.
woman.
Well, women tell you.
Yeah. You know, listen, this is so. If you can't do it, and they're looking crazy, they can't feel good about themselves.
And also, I'll tell you another thing. I just had this experience last week where the non-melanated mother, in her frustration, completely
cut
chopped
the hair.
all of her
Yep.
6-year-old's hair off. And when she
Yep.
did come to school, the child was absolutely devastated, crying, uncontrollable, you know, and she just was like, it's just hair, you know, what does it matter to her? And I mean, this little girl was like devastated, like, I can't believe she did this to me, because we relate, as we said, so much to our crown. And so it just was incomprehensible to the mother. She just couldn't understand, you know, I can't deal with it. It's too much for me. And so I just chopped it all off.
So we'll cut your hair while you sleep.
Because it was inconvenient. You know, the things is inconvenient. We just want to cut it off in a microwave moment and just think that we're not impacted.
She didn't even want to learn how to do it. She didn't even want to pay
or invest.
for it getting done. Exactly.
But I think it's deeper than that, right? Because I think the blackness in that child is the problem, right? Every woman, I don't care if you're male, I mean, every woman, independent of color, usually understands the importance of their hair.
Correct.
It's not like it's just a melanated thing, right? Women's hair is their thing, right? For the most part. I mean, I'm just guessing. I'm not sure. Y'all can tell me if I'm right or wrong. But so for her to cut that hair, I think it's a lot deeper than I just didn't know how to do it. I think it's more than that, because you're almost, in a way, you know, putting this child in a not a good space. You know,
well, I mean, it could be frustration, especially if it's difficult to do, and if the child poses a problem or is problematic when it comes time to do it.
No, we know. I seen my sisters get their hair done and look like modern day torture. I didn't know why they ever got it done again, right? But they got it done. Sit there, shut up, stop crying. I'm like, why is she crying? Ping, 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 ping. It hurts. It hurts, but it was done. Right. The frustration. I know my mom was upset afterwards, and my sisters, everybody was upset. The house was not good after they got the hair done, right?
Yes.
But it was done. It was done. I don't care how much it took. And this is over households I've seen this happen. I've rarely seen, especially melanated, where they're like, you know, this is too tough, I'm gonna cut it off. I just don't see that. So for someone to cut someone's hair off, and I don't see it in their community either. I don't see white women just like, you know what, I'm just gonna cut it off. Now some Indian women,
I do too. I have.
Because it was too much. Because it was too much
work.
You know, I don't often talk about myself, but I had that same experience. My mother cut all my hair off when I was about 8 or 9.
Why? Because it was too tough to do.
Yeah, and I didn't want her to do my hair. I would be crying and fussing every time she wanted to do my hair.
Gotcha.
After that, I learned how to do my own hair. That's how I learned how to braid and all that kind of stuff. I started doing my own hair.
I think she was jealous. Your mom was jealous of your hair.
I'm gonna tell her that.
Tell her, I know what it was. It was her. She was jealous. You can tell her. You wanted to tell her. You knew what it was. You didn't want to tell her. You're gonna use me now. Like, Mom, he said you was jealous.
But it could be like internalized self-hatred. I heard you.
That's what I was saying. Self-hatred.
Yeah, like it could be internalized, and it's like you don't want to invest in the time, because I do know Black mothers, when their children's hair is of a texture that requires more work, they don't want to do the investment. And then when they call the hairstylist and find out how much the investment is, they're like, oh no, I'm not paying that. They don't value that for their daughter, but they'll pay way more than that for their own hair, their own nails, their own outfits, their own name brand bag, and then show up to the school and say, well, I don't understand why this is impacting learning for this particular child. And it's like, I had a friend who had 6 figures. I don't understand why you can't invest in your daughter's hair.
To get her hair done.
To get her hair done. Like, that's going to help her self-image. But then I also
what did it look, Mary, what did the hair look like? Was just like
the texture was like, of it was definitely ethnic. Like it didn't resemble, from what you could tell from the mom's hair. Like, it was definitely a different texture. Maybe it was more from father, not sure. But it was different.
And I have talked about this in psychological evaluations, believe it or not, where children are with non-melanated parents. You know, doing their hair properly or investing in getting their hair done properly is going to be worth what you put out for them, as far as their self-esteem and how they carry themselves and how they feel about the places that they're in. Because it's not often understood how important that is.
Correct.
Right. So and this ties back into what we kind of talked about when you have these interracial couples where I didn't have that experience growing up. I didn't know nothing about no hot iron, the creamy crack. Did you say creamy crack?
Creamy crack.
We don't do crack. The crack is whack.
What is that burning? What is that burning smell?
Yeah. We don't have to do a whole bunch of braids, lay it down and curl outs and do bantu knots. Like that's not their life. So like you said, to them, that's like start from the beginning and they're like, I ain't got time. It's just too much.
And for them, the hairstyles are temporary. Like it's a 24-hour turnaround. Whereas for melanated cultures, the hairstyle has a longer longevity than that. So hopefully, if you take care of it and wear the satin bonnet and don't throw water.
And do you know that situation resulted in the father, of course, being extremely upset, and he revealed to me in a session that it resulted in his non-melanated partner, wife, calling him the N-word. And so
again, this was deeper than that. This was
exactly
they were destroying. Because I think it was in school where the teacher cut the little girl's hair, the little mixed baby hair in school. Right. And again, it's the hatred they have of the Black woman and their mane, they're destroying. That's what I feel. That's my Dr. Umar Johnson. I'm gonna put it out there.
Because when you think about it,
it's traumatizing just saying the name. I'm sorry.
That name, it can be.
Yeah, I mean, we worked with the dude, but anyway.
We did. That was tough.
You know that they hate us and they're gonna destroy our hair. They're taking away your power.
I just think sometimes it's more so when you see people with long hair, that represents Black excellence. I'm sorry. My hair can grow just like yours. I can do everything your hair can do and some.
Thank you.
So I don't necessarily agree with that because no matter what your hair is Black excellence. When your hair is short, that's Black excellence. When you grow it long, that's Black excellence. When you cut it all off and you bald, that's Black excellence. Because Jada looked super good bald. So anything we do usually is Black girl magic. It's Black excellence. And that's the problem because they're like, you guys are so, everything you do, we love it. We want to do it. We just can't. We can't do it. My band.
Well, they found ways to do it.
They started the 2 days in the week.
Everything they found ways to do it.
They were the first ones to have weaves.
They got it off of us and told it back to us. But we are the creators of everything. Let's be real.
Let me switch gears here a little bit. I just wanted to switch gears a little bit. Where do we think that whole idea of dating outside of our race matches status? Like your status is higher if you're able to date outside of our race.
Well, think about it. It always was a status thing because even back in the when we were brought over here as slaves, the you being in the house, being with the master,
we was
here already. We wasn't brought over here. We was already here as kings and queens. I'm sorry, you took me there.
All of us here. All of us here. So the boat that came over. So they came over here and
they downloaded. That's the story that they downloaded in your energy, but that's not the reality. We started in New York as well as in the DMV area.
Listen, what you have to do, you have to educate me on that. Hey, listen, I don't understand because they just came here and caught us all and made us work. I don't know how that works.
They did do that.
Hey, all right. Okay. I don't know how that works. I don't know how that would work.
Sorry,
but
I apologize.
Okay. So. Yeah. See, I didn't learn that. Hey, Pastor, I didn't learn that. So I got to learn. I'm learning today. See, I'm going to learn it. I learned. But either way, that usually something that is even just being with the master, you got some advantages, right? You got to be in a big house. Like these things were kind of being given as trinkets. And we looked at things that are different to be special. So like blue eyes are special because they're not as prevalent as brown and everything else. We looked at every little thing that's different to make it be more. So as we get older, remember, for that black buck to get that white woman, that forbidden fruit, you was the man kind of back in on the as you picking cotton. Like, you got Miss Susie? Yeah, I'm tearing her up. It just seemed like something to do. And since white was always at that point became the thing to be, the thing that had, especially after slavery ended and you see white people doing it, that was our model. We followed that model for a little bit. And when they burned down our Black Wall Street and stuff like that, what do? We went back to following their model and chasing that status that they had and what they want. We wanted what they wanted, including their women. So that white woman was she was that forbidden fruit. You get a white woman, that's what's up. And I remember growing up, the lighter she was, the better. White was gold. Light-skinned black girl she was just under the white girl. That was hot. Darker down, the darker they got, you don't want.
Yeah, but so then where did the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice come from?
From the white girl sneaking down to us.
And finding out that the darker the berry, shut up, Mary May. Never mind.
Yes, they found out what Todd was doing wasn't what Raheem was doing.
Exactly.
And it's funny too, because
definitely a lot of cleaner version of what I was gonna say. I didn't want the pastor to get a different view of me already.
Hey, Pastor, cover your ears. Don't worry over this. But but the thing and the funny part about this is, I'm gonna go on a limb and say I don't think sex is much different between people. I think what we may put married. So and again, listen, I'm just telling from my own experience. I think that sometimes what we put in our heads, what we make it to be, might make it feel different. So if you feel that white girl is more important than the sister, it's going to be better because we're already there. But I don't know. I've dated many type of women, and I mean, they're women. The sex is all what you make it with that person. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody's better or worse. The old tropes that certain people do certain things and certain don't. Y'all do it. Y'all do it all. Sorry, Pastor, don't listen to that. I don't know. I heard that. Somebody told me. Somebody told me that. I don't know for sure, but they said everybody does everything. So there is no the white girls do more. No, y'all do a lot too. So I'm just saying. So for me, and this is again anecdotally, I didn't see a big difference in what people do or don't do or yada 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 yada. But again, if you put something on that, because I know, like you said, we put people on pedestals. If I think this girl, I'm like, yo, she's dope. She's an angel. She's so beautiful. Oh, this is gonna be the best ever. Then it can be the best ever for the first maybe 2 or 3 times. Pastor, don't listen. I don't know what I'm talking about. The first 2 or 3 times, and then it becomes the regular. It's like, oh, she ain't really that dope. She's regular. She ain't no angel. She's a regular girl. Pastor, sorry, I don't know.
Unless she's throwing you up against the wall.
Right.
But again, even that's gonna get you 2 or 3 times. Then like, I'm tired of getting thrown up against the wall. You know what I mean? Now the difference would be what you have after sex. You might have some quiche, or you might have some chicken, or some Chinese food. Depends. So I will say the after sex is very different. Okay, right? You can have some broccoli.
You're not gonna have a potato salad with raisins, huh?
It depends. Depending on where you're at. You might get done. Like, dang.
What with apples?
What you got to eat? Well, we got some spinach and carrots.
Yeah, is Uber Eats still delivering? Is Uber Eats still delivering?
Right.
The farm still open? Like Wawa something?
Or hood Chinese?
Oh man!
You understand?
Had a good workout.
Right. So that's the only thing that's really different that I see is what you're going to eat afterwards. What you're going to eat and drink. You want the sparkling water? It's flavored.
Because I want you to get hydrated. So definitely, I want you to have some sparkling water.
Right.
But where does the power dynamic come in? Like, as far as like that influence that someone non-melanated may bring into the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you mean power dynamic?
Yeah.
So if we look at some of the relationships in leadership, is what I'll say.
Okay.
And did you get your promotion to being, say, the second lady of the United States because of who you're married to? That's the first relationship that I think of. I'm sure there's many others that have that same power dynamic.
I think it helps. I'm not going to sure, but I think it helps because you're appealing.
But is it a problem that it helps? Isn't that a problem?
No, because we're always selling a product. We're selling either us or what we can bring to the table. So if I see a household that is representing both, to some people that might be an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they might be like,
but
well, you know what,
funny because I was watching TV yesterday, and it seemed like many of the commercials have interracial couples now.
Yes.
Either that or same-sex. Either that or
same-sex.
Yes. Well, I mean, because that's the move right now. They're saying that, especially with the way things are going, white people will be almost extinct because of all of the.
So now they're tainting our genes. Yes.
Right. You know. Well, we can't.
They have to mix to survive.
Well, they're not mixing. They're mixing to go out of. They're mixing to be mixed out. You don't mix to survive, right? Because when you mix, you become that. You're not that anymore. So that's the problem. All the mixing going on, and their low birth rate is leading to.
We can have a baby.
Yes, and their low birth rate right now. I think they're like. I feel what it is, but if one dies, one is born. They're at -1 or whatever it is. I can't remember what it is, but they're not really producing a lot of children. So that race is literally going extinct, right? And this is by the numbers. This is not. You can look this up. This is not anything that anyone's making up.
No, it is.
So anything that is going extinct is going to fight to live, and you're going to do anything you can to fight to keep your. And I'm gonna use race it's a construct, but I'm gonna use race to stay alive, right? They don't want to be wiped off or now, replaced by, whatever. So they're trying to keep their power dynamic. Now it's weird. I mean, I think, when you get to these rooms on these levels, and like I said, the rooms look very different than what we see. You may be one of 200 people in the room of color.
And it's not even at like a high level of billionaires, even millionaires. These are at some real, I would say, low levels, because I've been in plenty of rooms just working in government where I was the only Black person. Mm-hmm. I was the only woman, the only Black woman, So it's
rocking stilettos.
That is not even a high level.
Well, how many men try to holler at you?
With her stilettos.
There's been some.
You understand? So when they were shooting their shot, but they didn't get you, unluckily for them. But sometimes what happens is, like I said, you're around these people. You've seen Todd at the last 4 parties, and Todd is kind of he's funny.
He's all right.
And I didn't want to say this earlier because it's terrible. It's really terrible. So the white girl I dated, I didn't find attractive at all, right? Not even a little bit. She wasn't attractive at all. But in the time, I thought it was great because I loved her for her personality.
Okay.
And I wanted to tell her, so I told her, I said, it's so amazing that we have this great relationship. And it's not about attractive because I'm not attracted to you. It's your personality. And she got upset.
Just be honest.
I didn't understand why she was upset. You don't find me attractive. No, it's your personality.
But that's attraction.
Bond.
Yes. Right. That's an attraction with personality.
So listen, excuse me. I have a great personality, but please be attracted to me physically. Thank you. I don't do this work for nothing. So sorry, Pastor. I'm not really. Somebody told me to say this. Stop telling me this.
Pastor, this is the real cousin Daryl.
But I don't care. I don't know what people say, but I want to be while I can, to be physically attractive as well. It would hurt my heart to say I only like you because of your personality. You're a great guy.
Sometimes also in leadership, when we find ourselves as educated, melanated women in that room, when we're approached, it's almost seen as for the non-melanated man to get a melanated woman that is educated, that has status, that carries herself in a certain way. That's a status symbol for them behind closed doors. A lot of them, especially the ones that have play money to play with. And I'm not talking about where you check in your bank account and you're just rich. I'm talking about many of them that are wealthy to get educated, melanated, beautiful woman, whether she's your mistress, whether you make her a wife. That is a power play for them behind closed doors and has been for quite some time.
I can attest to that. And not even behind closed doors, but dating outside of my race, one occasion, I'll say that, where this person would want to go to Black hangouts just to show that we're together.
No, but again, that's him. That's his hatred of the Black man. He's like, look, I took yours. He ain't going to the right places to show you off. He wanted to show you off to us. That's him just showing.
I wouldn't agree with that. When you are dealing with certain people of high financial status, they want to take you as a melanated, educated, beautiful woman. You are like the equivalent of candy on their shoulder. You're eye candy for them. You're educational candy for them. And I've seen it so many times in those circles. I've seen it so many times.
I don't agree. I totally don't agree. First of all, if a man is taking you down, yes, fetish. This is not a love. Yeah, no, but she's on point, because if I'm taking you to see Black people, that doesn't do anything for my status. There's no status.
No.
For them, for a white man.
I wasn't saying that's only, but that was part of it.
Right.
Wait, first of all, he doesn't care about your education. I don't care what you say. He didn't care about you being educated or any of that, because he had money. Your education doesn't matter. He doesn't need your education. You were arm candy at best to go around in them rooms. Right,
but I'm talking about the wealthy men that are not or don't care anything about taking you to Black establishments. I'm talking about the ones that are taking you into their establishments, and they are seen as a different status level in their circle because they have a melanated, educated, beautiful woman on them, and that's a power play to them.
What power play is it? That's totally. I don't agree one bit, because if I'm a wealthy man, again, I don't need your education. You're not going to start a business for me. What does your education do? I want you to look good. I want you to look good, and nobody cares what's coming out your mouth because they're looking at your body.
No. I think that it's you. I can't even get it out.
I've been dealing with this 30 years.
You can have this. You can talk to people. You can converse. You're not just some dumb bimbo on their arm.
Bimbo is not women. See, this is where Kevin Samuels comes in, where people are overestimating your value. No man of status is worrying about what is coming out. Like you said, how many of these women that are married?
They married to the white counterpart.
Right.
No, these people you're talking about that you see that take them to these rooms, they're married.
They're married to the person who's
they are
armed
married.
them.
That they are married to melanated women.
Yes, whoever we're talking about,
yes.
that's bringing them around.
I mean, look no further than some of the celebrities who are married to educated, melanated women.
Who?
You didn't even got to go to the celebrities. You could go to the politicians that get locked up.
You could go to the right. You could go to the politicians as well.
Like, so again, so show me who, because most times you find out, it's like Miss Brown, who's about to be trying to be the judge, supreme judge, whatever the case may be.
Overqualified, but yeah, she got to go through the test.
But wait, stop. But we didn't know she had a white husband until we knew she had a white husband. I said, who's she hugging?
What about, if I'm not mistaken, David Bowie's wife is African American, Robert De Niro.
Again, how many times have you seen them? How many times have you seen them? You don't see them much.
Right, but that's,
you don't see, so they're not taking them in them rooms.
But when
they're not taking them in them rooms.
Right, but when you're talking about wealthy men, it mean if they're able to get your education, it does mean something to them, not because they need you for business, but because it becomes a status quo amongst the people who they're dealing with, that they were able to get one of the good pickings, so to speak. The woman is educated, melanated.
I'm confused again. I don't know. Maybe it's me, but I know men who right now are wealthy. Usually they're chasing the Instagram girls whose bodies are put in whatever position they are. They get them the way they want. I don't know anybody who's like.
What about Eve's husband? Serena Williams' husband.
Kamala Harris's husband. Right.
So again, we named 5 people, right? So we named the whole 5 people.
Oh my God.
And again, all those people, first of all, Kamala Harris didn't know she had a white husband until she started running. Didn't know. Anytime I seen her, looked it up on YouTube, never knew it, right?
But Meghan Markle got a prince.
But guess what? It's
Meghan Markle is half white too. She half white too, and he was sneaking around with her. Like I said, so for the most part, again, and I bet you it wasn't her brain that got him. I don't know what you're talking about as far as they're caring about their education and things of that nature. If you're on this level,
it was the brain, Darren.
The brain.
You're right.
Come on.
You're right.
You're
right. Everybody does it, so I mean,
right.
Oh, they do, and she did it twice. She did it twice. So what I'm saying is, I don't know anybody who's shopping around like she's so smart, because that usually isn't a prerequisite. That might be nice.
But when you're dealing with non-melanated people that are on a particular financial level, they do want the melanated woman that they've managed to acquire. Even if they don't make them their wife, if they're bringing them out in those circles, they want them to be able to speak a certain way, be able to hold conversations on the levels in which they are.
Who they talking to? We ain't supposed to be talking to nobody. You with me? What you mean?
You know what?
I'm telling you. I don't know what this conversation right here as a man.
Daryl, you gotta expand your circle some. No.
Women have to stop. Women overestimate their value sometimes. And first of all, when did a black woman, the lowest woman on the pole, make anybody's level go up? When did that happen? Because black women is the most treated the worst in America, right? They're the lowest on the pole, the last good thing, the most educated, but still last in line for everything. So when did getting a black woman increase your status? I never heard that before. That's a new one, because
I didn't think that's what we were talking about. I didn't think we were talking about black women increasing a man's status. I thought we were talking about them picking a certain kind of black woman because of their status.
So again, if I have status, I have to pick. I can get what I want. What you mean pick? I can go get what I want at that status most of the time. Who is turning down these people? Most times people are not doing it. He's a billionaire. Yes is the answer usually, right? So I don't know. What do you mean they're picking? I'm confused at what goes on here.
They either choose to pick Becky or they choose to get Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
And either way, even Vanessa or Becky, I don't care what you're saying. I don't care about your degrees. You want to look good. Ain't nobody gonna pick no ugly girl who look good. I mean, ugly girl who's smart. Yo, she's so smart. Look at her brain. I think I want it. No, thank you. Again, I don't know what man is like, you know what? I picked you because you can talk in circles and you can keep up with the conversation. No, because what your boys are looking at when the girl walking by is aesthetics. That, whoo, boy, yo, when you walk by and behind your back, like, yo, that's a good one. Boom, 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 boom. If she's in there with some glasses in the book, I don't think like, well, what book she reading? I wouldn't know what book she reading. I'm just saying, I just didn't know that was the thing. I didn't know.
That's the thing. And when you're on those levels, they're not the aesthetics, I'm sure, that's something of an issue between them. But when you're on that status level, they're not pounding and boom, 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 and wow, oh, you got that. They're looking at the woman that has been selected on a different level. And to be honest with you, Daryl, there are many melanated women who've raised the status of a whole lot of men.
Again, listen, if I got it, most of the time I'm not looking for you. And I don't care if you're melanated or non-melanated. If I have it already, I'm not looking for you to raise my status, right? Because I have my status already, right? I have it already. Excuse me?
From where you sit.
There you go.
From being in these circles and talking to these men, like I tell you, when I talk to these men and the women and what they do, I don't see this. I've never seen this. I've never heard a conversation like, she's so smart. I just haven't. And she may be, but that's not why that might be a quality she possesses, but that ain't why I picked you. I have never seen that. So I'm telling you from a man's point of view.
Isn't that something that even Beyonce said in her song? She go along
Beyonce
to raise the deal. I go along to raise the deal.
Beyonce the billionaire. Is that what we're talking about? Beyonce the billionaire. Yeah, she's gonna raise the deal. She's Beyonce. How many else people have that power?
But you said no woman. You said no woman.
No, with Jay-Z, I don't need her. Jay-Z don't need her to raise the deal. He's already making the deal. See, that's what I'm saying. Jay-Z still outshines that light. So he doesn't need her to make a deal. He doesn't need her. That's Jay-Z. So for her, she has to be with a dude that's way above that doesn't, it doesn't. So that's what I mean. So I don't think, now again, there's always outliers. You probably can find somebody, because I definitely think that Ms. Brown, the Supreme Court, is raising her husband's level up. She's definitely raising his level up. Or Kamala is raising her, vice president.
All right, so there are some.
Right? There's nothing that's absolute. There's always outliers, right?
Yes, he did say Kamala.
Whatever. I don't know. What's her name? Kamala, whatever. So, Kamala, if you don't get back on this
screen. I need a timeout.
Listen. Hey, listen. I told you I went to a white high school. Some of y'all names are tough to pronounce. Listen. I
went to a white high school too, but I chose to do that. I chose to leave the urban school because I didn't want to have to go to a community college before going to a 4-year institution. So I chose to move to the East Coast. I didn't know my mom was coming with me, but that came a part of the deal. And when I got to the school, I was othered.
Listen, well, I had a different experience because when I got to the school, when they found out where I was from, I became a star. Where you from? I'll never forget. Listen, my English teacher, he's like, were you scared? Were you scared?
Look at what
and I was like, and because listen, this conversation, I mean, as a man, I can tell you what men are saying, right? Well, from what I see, not all men, but I can tell you, and this is where you want to bring in when we talked about last week, like your Kevin Samuels and things of that nature, the things they talk about, men on that level. That's what they speak about a lot, men on that level, those wealthy men, those men who have money and what they're looking for. None of them say they're looking for women they're looking for women to come and bring something, to the table, or they want
So,
something on
back
campus.
to the topic. Doesn't a non-melanated woman always raise your status?
No.
Does she always? Does she always? No.
No,
But I
where
think
from?
She can be property.
I think the two we see, like we can name two right now that I feel, cause I don't know what their husbands do, so I can't say, but I know their husbands now
And why
because
is
of
that?
them. So I was, why
I'm
don't I know
saying,
what their
why
husbands
is
do?
that? Why don't we know what they do? Why is it invisible?
Well, do we know what every wife does of people when we're talking about government right now? We don't.
Well,
We don't.
they
Like,
usually
even right
highlight
now,
it if it's a melanated person because they want to show diminishment or decreasing her value into the conversation by saying, "Oh, she's a homemaker." What the front door is a homemaker? Like, if you pay for somebody to do any of those services, that's a large investment.
It sure is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wordplay. But again, well, like, so now we're looking at Clarence Thomas is the opposite, and his wife. Now we know about her because she looked like she was doing some shady dealing. So now they're bringing that up, where she was with the insurrection and she was texting Trump, and so now but before that, I really didn't know who she was, right? So I don't think we know a lot of the paramours or wives or husbands.
A long time.
Yes, we don't know a lot of them because it's not about them usually. Like I said, but they will bring it up sometimes if they do have a melanated, spouse or a child. Because I know one had a child they adopted and he was melanated. And they were like, "Look at this afro." They had to bring his afro up and things of that nature.
So the power dynamic.
So.
No, talk about the power dynamic, Daryl.
I'm just saying, I don't. The power dynamic is being white right now in America. That's your power. When you aligning yourself with someone other than white can be detrimental to your especially if you're a Republican. That ain't helping you sometimes, contingent upon what they're saying.
But
so you got to be very careful.
And then sometimes if you choose the Republican Party, it is because of your financial status that there is benefits to doing such, which is a level of privilege that is not talked about. They go at the surface of, well, everybody should be Democrat. Well, maybe some of the values of that particular construct doesn't suit my lifestyle.
Right. But maybe some of the things they stand for don't either. But,
exactly.
So you have to pick and choose if you want to chase that bag, and you can swallow whatever they're whatever they're trying to push. Because you do have like a Candace Owens who is very,
dead.
She's always, and she's finally trying to get herself together. She must got someone to help her do her hair finally, because she's finally getting herself together. Because that girl was woo. But she has a white husband. She went totally that route, and I think she could only exist with a white husband because I don't know how.
Because of her views?
To hear some of the things she's saying. Well, yes, because I don't know how, because you're so left with some of the things you're saying.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. I don't know how we could agree. It would be a fight every night. Because I'm like, you sound crazy, right? You sound crazy. So this man got killed, but he was a criminal. What's that matter? We would have these big debates because of, and I don't know much about how she grew up or anything. So I don't know anything about how she grew up, but I don't think she was around a lot of melanated people. I think she's really. So
they probably have the same views.
Right. She's probably getting her views from there, and she's getting rewarded, almost getting a bone by them giving her like, listen, good job, Candace, you did us good again. So he got himself, I guess, what kind of pastor was talking about, a woman that he feels is educated because she's saying what he wants to hear.
Right.
And she's selling because that niche, they need those people over there. So she's filling a niche of a Black woman on paper, but everything she's saying doesn't represent.
Yes, like the two women that are Trump supporters, like Diamond.
Right.
Yeah, I remember them.
Yes, those two. You're right. They do fill a niche. They fill a niche,
but I don't think they can have at home. Propaganda. I can't see them being in a home that's melanated. unless they all think the same, because they're very left on their views. It's not like it's kind of even in the middle, right? So that would cause a problem with me every night, because everything they say I have to challenge, and it would be all night long, and we would never sleep, and we would hate each other because we were tired and we were cranky, and I would need a Snickers.
Sorry.
You won't need more than a Snickers, but then that's where the zip code stuff comes in, like the zip codes of understanding, and like how you create the balance for how privilege and your role culturally as well as professionally, how it shares, how you're gonna show up. Like, can you show up authentically as you, no matter what?
Yes.
And this is the thing, Mary, you said you went from an urban style school to a more rural area, right? So
it wasn't rural. I didn't go rural. It was affluent.
Affluent high school.
Okay.
It was an affluent because everybody that was at the high school that I transferred to, they worked in DC in the government that we're talking about. Like all of their parents were of privilege, and then here I was, the black girl from Chicago that didn't wear a coat. So
So in that experience, because same thing, I went to a school that was very affluent, right? One of the very influenced, where kids are coming to school with BMWs, like
I'm like, where they do that?
10th grade, 11th grade. What is that? How did you get that? You stole that? But so this is the thing where we talk about dealing with people outside of your race. When I go to the school, life is different, meaning just life in general, where I was at fight or flight living in the area that I lived in all the time, constantly, whether it was outside, whether it was home, there's always some drama going on. You always had to be ready to go at any moment. To coming out here and hearing birds and being able to walk and leave your bike on the lawn and not worry about anybody have to take your sneakers. Your life is totally different from what it was. And you cannot explain that difference to someone else who hasn't had that experience. You can't, they won't understand how I'm at peace for the first time in my life, and you had peace all your life.
Right.
Here you go.
That posed a big difference in the way at one point, I would not date white women. I didn't like them at all because they didn't I felt like they fetishized me. Like, oh my God, were you in a gang? Like, what do you mean? My mom never let me in the house. She never let me in the house. I couldn't even go to the corner store by myself. But I was like, yes. And they were like, come home and meet mom and dad. And they wanted to take me and show me off. And I started seeing that, like, you're trying to make mommy and daddy mad. Like, I'm used as something to make them mad because they don't want me here. And I see that you don't get in trouble like I get in trouble because my head get clean knocked off and you just cussed at your mom and told her to get out the room. I'm confused. I started learning that we're very different. We're the same, but we're different. Our experiences as humans are different, which shapes who we are, which shapes how we handle things, which when I smack somebody, people think it's okay in our community. And I feel like, why would you hit somebody? I would never hit anybody. That's not what you do. You need to go to jail for that. And that experience is why I say that sometimes dating outside of your race can be very difficult. Because you can't, those intangible experiences, I can't touch it. I can't really tell you why walking down the street right now, I feel good. I'm smiling and there's birds chirping and I have not a care in the world. I don't think anybody's going to do anything to me. My Jordans I can wear. I don't got to hide them in my book bag on the way home because I don't think anybody's going to try to get me for my brand new Jordans. You don't know how relaxing this is. I didn't know how much stress I was in until I wasn't in it. And this has been your life the whole time.
Right.
So how do you think that affects a relationship for longevity for the people that have managed to sustain it?
I don't know how they did it because I couldn't. You know, my blackness didn't allow me to, because I got to be authentic. So when you do something, just like anybody else would, which you might even know that was a microaggression. You know what I mean? When you say certain things to me, it may bother me. Like, what was you doing? Was you out there stealing? What? Who are you talking to? Like, that's a problem for me. Because it's negative in thought. It's how you think about me when you say certain things. So it doesn't work for me because it felt like I was educating all the time. I was educating on you why you can't do that, why you can't say that, Why your mom leaves the room when I come in? Why your people act like that? It felt like a constant education, and they don't get it. They don't understand, and that's draining. I said, at all the things I have to do as a black man, now I got to come home and teach you. I can't do this all the time.
Draining of your essence.
Right? And it wouldn't be like they were bad. They just didn't know. And even if they tried, it's like, you're not getting it.
It's not going to work.
Or to be so.
You didn't see that lady grab her purse when I was on the elevator. That bothers me. Mm-hmm. I know I got more money than you. I know I do. It bothers me.
You know what? That does. So when that happened to me, when the next white person stepped on the elevator, I grabbed my purse and stood in the corner too, and they got it.
I don't know if they got it. I know I was reading something this week where the guy said he goes out and touches white people's hair. Say, oh my God, it's so stringy. It's so stringy. Does it curl? And he says they look at him.
Anybody's hair.
But they say they look at him like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. They really, the same way we would feel like, what are you doing? Why are you in my space? Why are you touching my hair? Mm-hmm. And it's crazy. They said, well, why do you think you guys do this?
Right.
And it was, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Now I say you're brave because you know you're going to jail, right? You know you're going to jail. you know that's assault. They're going to lock your ass up. You need to stop. Quit while you're ahead. Yeah, you can't touch somebody. Touch a white woman. That to me just gave me, I was anxious watching it.
The chill vibes.
Yeah, like you don't do that. Like that's how we're programmed, that we already know that's something you don't do. Mm-hmm. You don't go touch a white woman's hair. You don't even want to ask them what time it is. They might go to jail and get shot. Mm-hmm. But that's how we're programmed, and we can't explain that sometimes.
Mm-hmm. We definitely can. We definitely can. And so like this experience is definitely like has multiple layers to it, so it's like it does create challenges in maintaining and sustaining a relationship. And it's like, what is your personal bandwidth and being able to keep the relationship? You heard Daryl was like, yeah, I ain't doing it.
To keep the relationship?
Yeah, to be, and it's not so much to keep the relationship, but to feel that you have a balanced relationship with harmony and love, and that you mutually understand and respect. I heard respect in this conversation. The unique footprint that each person plays like in the world. Like we all have a unique footprint, because even, Daryl is saying that, we were in an urban place and then an affluent, neighborhood. I'm sure there's some similarities in that, but I definitely know there's some differences, because although it was an affluent for me, it was mixed races in that affluency, that I would assume that somebody was African American, and then they open their mouth and the dialect and the tone threw me as a person from the Midwest off. I'm not accustomed to that tone. We only got 3 ethnic groups. So like, where are you coming from? But it takes a learning process.
And that was a challenge I had too with the people that lived here. Melanated people that lived here. There was only like 4 of us altogether, so it wasn't that many. But they seen themselves different. They didn't have the experience I had, so their lives was different. And sometimes they wouldn't catch the things that were going on. They wouldn't catch the microaggressions. They wouldn't understand them. And sometimes, and it took some time for me to catch a lot of them as well. When I look back, I'm like, wow, I didn't know that's what that was. I didn't know what she said. What she said, I know what she meant now, right? And that's what sometimes for me, we'll use the word woke right now, for lack of a better word. I can't think of anything else. Being woke and being in that interracial relationship is a constant reminder of things also. Right? It's a constant reminder. So when that cop shoots that black man, you realize that person is not melanated again, because you forget what people are sometimes. When you're with them, you don't really realize how they look. That's why we get dressed up like, damn, baby, you look good today. Because I ain't looked at you in 2 months. Now you look good because you're different, right? So, but when that cop shoots that melanated man, now I remember you're melanated. That could be your uncle. That could be your dad. That could be you. Now I gotta have some type of, here we go. I feel some type of way about her now. Right, Doc? There we go, Doc. I'm feeling some type of way about her now as I look at her, because I'm thinking, this is your people. Do you think like this? Do you think like this? I don't really know if you don't think like this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if we get in the car and they ask us to get out, what's going to happen? Because you may walk over with them like, I don't really, Raheem, I know I'm married to him, but I don't know him though. You know, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So that's a problem for me, and I think anyone who is woke should have some type of issues that way as well. It could have issues like that way. I said that way.
Facts.
Okay.
Facts. So, is there any closing remarks that we would have that somebody who has participated in this full conversation for 2.04, 2 hours and 4?
I know, right?
Like we like at the 129 mark, I was like, oh, okay, we need some more minutes. But wow, a whole 2 hours. We haven't done that in a minute. And I would be interested in like what would be some things that if somebody is experiencing these challenges of either biracial relationships or African descent and African American, like what would be some things that you would suggest from them as takeaways from this conversation?
I mean, I would say that talking about race and culture and relations is very difficult, but I would say embrace the difficulty and talk about it. Just like with anxiety, the best way to get over anxiety is through exposure. Most people want to avoid it because it feels like that's the best way to get over anxiety, but all that does is, avoidance only feeds it. So have the discussions, even though they're uncomfortable.
I'm about to use that to advertise on my anxiety group. Thank you, Doc.
Exposure.
I kind of agree with
exposure.
I kind of agree with Doc where that if you're going to be with someone, you should be able to talk about everything. First of all, you want to get into a relationship where you have that safe space where you're able to say how you feel without the other person feeling attacked or feeling you're talking to them. And race, especially in a relationship of different cultures or different melanin and things of that nature, you definitely want to start talking about some of those things that the other person may be going through. And this is both ways. Again, why are the raisins in the potato salad? You can ask that question now, right?
Like, have you ever had it any other way? And why we use a miracle whip versus how?
Right. And I just don't understand why we have medium rare chicken. I didn't know that was okay. I thought that was.
And we got to clean our chicken before we cook it.
Amen.
Right.
Yes.
Right. You understand? So at these points, you can ask these questions and you should be comfortable asking all these questions and try to understand what the other person is going through. So like I said, with the girl with the Christmas ornament, I tried to educate her on why this was something she should look into. And I remember real fast last story, we talked about the little girl wanted to play basketball. She played basketball and she was kind of upset about it. She wasn't into it or wasn't that good, so she stopped playing. And around this ornament conversation, that little girl came down, she heard, and she started saying, like, she was looking for an advocate almost. She was like, yeah, why don't that look like me? You're like, I want one. And then she was like, and I said, well, did you ever invest in doing anything for her? Did you ever look in any camps maybe that were more melanated? Did you ever try to put her in things? Because you have around all these, people that are white, not saying it's bad, but she has an identity that's not being watered. And she's like, well, not really. She's like, well, I did put her in basketball. I wanted to, listen, you put her in basketball. But the girl was like, but when I said I wanted to stop, you let me. She's like, well, you didn't want to do it. She said, I didn't want to do field hockey, and you would not let me not do field hockey. I said, look, see? And so there were some things there. I said, you guys might need to talk to somebody. But it was just too much for me because I'm like, I didn't like, the little girl straightening her hair every day, straighten all her curls out. I'm like, wow, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. Anyway, all to say, I think you need to talk about these things earlier than later so that you can try to understand where that person's coming from. Because there's a lot that you guys have to talk about that you don't even know you have to talk about.
And my suggestion would be, like you said, to talk about it earlier than later. And very much, I think that sometimes we need to especially when you're dealing in any relationship, but especially interracial relationships, maybe we need to slow things down a bit instead of getting so invested. Like once you move to a sexual level, that you discuss these things before you're so invested in a person, and then you find out that you can't deal with these cultural differences. So we need to take our time and do a little bit more research on the person and the cultures that we're dealing in. We need to, talk about these difficult conversations before we get into these committed relationships, because then you'll be like
Pastor Dana,
Daryl.
they need the yams. Like
Yeah, but then you'll be like Daryl, where they ain't never gonna be considered again.
Right. Listen, Pastor, I'm saying it's hard to get all that information in 3 days. I'm just saying.
As he rubs his chest.
Right.
Yeah. He's like, in 3 days I can get the yams and be emotionally connected or not. But I don't know.
Right. I'm saying it's difficult. Committed. So I mean, committed. I'm committing to act.
Right, you committed to getting the yams in 3 days.
I mean, that's what they said, Pastor. They commit to act early. I don't agree to that. That's not. You should wait to marriage. I understand. That's what we should promote. Wait to marriage. But some people.
Oh my God, Daryl, a mess.
He is a whole mess. Pastor, I'm sorry, I had to interject. But were you finished? Do you have anything else? Okay. People still, that human creature still lives.
Yeah. I guess from my point of view, you need to just ask questions and talk about this stuff before the yams come along, or you can wait till after the yams, whatever. I think it's just important to talk about in relationships, period. But being in an interracial relationship, it just adds another layer.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think those things need to be talked about: how you're raised, how your family does things, how they react to people of different ethnicity or races, and what do you expect from this relationship to go.
Yeah,
because when you're marrying somebody or in a relationship committed, like you with everything that comes with that person. So they may be great, but the family is horrible, and how you would be treated or just going to family functions or how they look at you. And if y'all procreate and have kids together, that's even that can another layer. So it just needs to be talked about beforehand.
And that's crazy. We didn't touch on that, but Camp, that is real. Like how does the family receive this relationship? And then how do they receive the kids? Because I know you do something to my kids to show I'm turning up and you're never seeing us again.
I'm gonna wrangle your neck.
Right. So we could lose a whole side of a family over what you said at Christmas dinner.
Or I'm not going and the kids ain't going. We're going to do something different. You going to hang out with them.
We're not.
Right. And that's where when I talked about breaking off an engagement, they loved me on paper. They just didn't like the fact that I was Black.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's real.
We was going to get married. He got along with my family. My family loved him. Everybody thought I was going to marry somebody white. I was. But he had to choose me or his inheritance. I told him to choose his inheritance.
Was he 12?
No, he was way older than me. Not 12. I don't date people underage.
No, you 12. Remember, you got married at 13. What are you talking about, girl?
No. but that's real. So I think that's where people's like, y'all so good together. But no, that's a piece of it. The dynamic between us was great, but the family.
Right.
Camp, was he thinking about losing his inheritance for you or what?
He was actually going to turn down his inheritance. But me, I was just like, if the shoe was on the other foot, would I turn down mine? I thought, to be honest, I was like, maybe, probably not. So go ahead.
I could buy some new yams. Mm-hmm. I mean, Pastor, that's what someone said. Someone said that with all that money, you could probably But the crazy part of it, he took his inheritance, but he just got met some girl and was like, we engaged, but then he still wanted to be with me behind closed doors. I said, no, I'm not gonna be your mistress. You about to get married to somebody you don't know. Right.
Because he loved me, but wanted take the inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And Mary, I was about to say,
Right, take
like
their
that's that.
inheritance. I'm not
That's
gonna
that.
hold you back from that.
He said, "I don't want you to hold me back. I just want you to let me just hold you down."
Right.
You know what?
We could drop the raisins. Can we just get some yams going on?
Right.
Right. And that's crazy because
But
remember,
that's
we're already over sexualized.
We
Right.
are.
As especially black women, you're over sexualized and you're going to be more sexual. So you're going to, I have somebody, but you're going to let me come over here and still, dip in your honey pot. It's very interesting. And I wonder in these rooms, when they're bringing these women of color in these rooms, again, what are they looking at them as? That's why I said, I don't know if they're looking at them as smart, but I know they're looking at them as probably, very sexual. Like, she probably do it all. The chandelier moment in their mind, that's what they think they're getting.
But let's
and I
be
think
clear.
that's a big part of it.
He never got the yams.
But in his mind, he probably couldn't believe it.
No,
but in his mind, his version of yams wasn't the same as Daryl. Like, so he wanted yams, and he was okay with that.
But he was like, if he got the yams before marriage, then he wouldn't respect me. He wouldn't look at me the same. So we couldn't do anything.
You met him at undergrad.
Crazy, but
before I graduated.
Okay, yeah.
So it's very interesting. He said, if I had sex with you before we got married, we couldn't. But he was still trying to have sex with you when he was engaged to someone else. Shows the level of respect he had for you.
Exactly, and that's why we're not together.
That's crazy.
Or friends.
No, but it's funny. Yeah. I wonder if he even knew that he was what he
being
was saying and he acting. Right. Like, I wonder if he even understood what he was doing because it's just so natural to him.
Oh yeah, he understood.
Any last words, Mary?
I don't have any last words. My last words is that it sounds like that we need to have a part 2 to this conversation. It sounds like we would benefit from possibly a different angle on this conversation because it has raised so many different things.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So many layers to this discussion.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But it's layers to most discussions and relationships as far as them sustaining. Right. If you really peel down the layers. So, that's what this space does. We have the pregame conversation in the group as well as when we come on live. So that and many other conversations throughout the week. So feel free to become a part of the group Relationship Flow if you're not already. And thank you for watching. And thank you for the person who shared this as a topic discussion. I hope that we answered and gave you the feedback that you were looking for as well. So until next Friday, we will have a good one. Stay safe, stay well.
Everyone too. Good night.
Good night.
Have a good night, everyone. It was very nice to have you guys tonight.
Code switching for real.
Right.